Hey you guys, happy autumn, and don't mind this. This is my shade cloth that I haven't decided if I wanted to take it out yet because we're supposed to have a spike of heat next week. So anyway, well, this video I wanted to share with you guys. If you weren't, if you didn't make it to the Heirloom Expo, I wanted to share the panel that I was on with you, and hopefully it would answer some of the questions that some of you guys may be having, because it was basically about Asian vegetables, and people were asking questions about the Asian vegetables that they were growing or struggling with. So I hope you'll find this video to be helpful. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode.
We appreciate everybody for coming out, and can everybody hear me okay? Appreciate y'all coming out. We're going to talk about Asian vegetables. We got a couple of experts here, Wendi and David. Wendi's from Southern California. I forgot the exact city, Los Angeles, and David is from St. Louis. So anyway, really appreciate it. And I'm Jere and Gettle, and I'm from Mansfield, Missouri. But it's, anyway, kind of in the middle of nowhere. I appreciate you all coming out. I'm going to hand it over to David because he has some deep thoughts to start out the conversation here.
Deep thoughts. Well, I probably should start off with my connection to Asian vegetables. As you guys look at me, you're probably wondering, what does this guy know about Asian vegetables? I'm a farmer in Missouri, near St. Louis, and I grew up, I was born in Japan and lived there for a few years with my family, and that is where the flavors of Asian vegetables and Asian food became familiar to me and my family, and we started, as we traveled around, those flavors followed us, and so I grew up very familiar with Asian vegetables, Asian fruits, Asian food. And Wendi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone. So yeah, well, I'm Asian, but I also live in a lot of Asians in my neighborhood. But the type of Asian vegetables that I grow, actually, they don't really know what they are. So I kind of like collecting things that are more rare, medicinal herbs and vegetables that are very, nutritious, and things that I think are tasty may not be for everyone, but you learn to like it and appreciate it. And there's just so much healing properties in there that I'm able to witness, sharing this with family and friends, and even, my dog last year I was able to extend 6 months of her life when all the specialists said there was nothing they could do. And they truly believed that it was the green smoothies that I was doing. And if you're not trying to be proactive about this and you try to start buying a plant when you have some sort of crisis, it's, it takes time to grow. So it got me even more into it, even though I was very passionate about it, but it's just amazing. And it's just so fun to experiment and grow things that you can't buy out there. And see how to use it and how to make it, and it tastes amazing.
And so to touch on what she just said, I think that's one of the things that inspires a lot of what we grow are things that we can't access other places. That's one of our main incentives for growing things is if we can't get it somewhere else, then how can we figure out, the way to grow it? Which takes a lot of research. I'd say growing any non-staple crops in an area that they're not normally grown takes a bit of research, which is not always literature. Sometimes it's speaking to people that are more familiar with those things. Whatever it may be, definitely take time to do your research when diving into growing medicinal plants and just vegetables and fruits from other parts of the world, so you can skip past a little bit of the excess trial and error that some people have already gone through. But I think I want to open up this to the rest of the room and see if you guys have any questions about growing Asian vegetables, if they're, if there are ones that you have tried growing that you haven't had success with growing, if you want recommendations on what you can grow in your area or what may work good for you guys. Do we have another mic for the room possible?
No. I can talk loud. I don't know if you can hear me, but there's a plant that I've been trying in San Diego, and I have clients that grow for stars, and I have clients that want to grow the curry plant. I noticed that it's quite sensitive to wind, and I feel like I killed this wonderful seedling, and it's showing signs of coming back. Do you have any experience growing a curry plant? Can you tell me about its medicinal benefits?
I haven't grown that before, but I have gotten a hold of it like fresh for cooking, and I have seen that plant grown in Vista, which is right outside Steve with the booth out there with Exotica, and they grow an amazing bush of that and it's definitely, you're in the right region, area for it. You should ask Steve exactly what that grows. He's out, yeah, because he has an amazing. Yes.
But I just wondered if you had any experience growing it.
Not that plant specifically.
Okay. How about bitter gourd?
Bitter gourd, yeah, I have that. And what is your question about it? Okay.
Yes. What are the medicinal benefits?
Oh, right. Yeah, bitter gourd. So anything that's bitter in a traditional Chinese medicine perspective is cooling for the body. So it kind of makes sense to me in thinking in terms of how it grows in the summer. Like we get a lot of different kind of lots of hydrating fruits like watermelons and melons, things like that are very cooling. And the bitter foods are cooling for the body. And they happen to be in season in summer. So it helps with that. And bitter foods are really good for your liver and your cholesterol. So it's kind of like a cleansing, detoxing kind of a gourd. It's more bitter and more crunchy when it's green, but if you can wait for them until they get yellow, it's less, it's softer, it's not as bitter. And the inside, what I'm really after is that skin that's red around the seed. And actually, that's quite delicious. It's like a mild melon. It's good. It's like candy almost. Yeah. And so I said one more thing about this. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Before we take the next question, I was going to add something on the bitter gourd. We grow it a lot in Missouri. It loves heat and humidity. It's actually probably my favorite or second favorite crop. I love bitter mountain, bitter gourd. In China, they call it kugwa. I'm not pronouncing. My accent isn't right. But bitter melon, bitter gourd, bitter squash. Anyway, and then Bohlen in Japan, and so many different countries throughout, from India to Indonesia to China. But as you go north, even in China, it disappears. People with northern taste buds. As you go farther south, it gets bitter, and the people with northern taste buds from northern China and Europe and other places tend to sometimes think this is way too bitter. What we do is we slice them. There's several methods to make them more palatable if you're from a Caucasian or from a non-bitter liking culture. And not everybody in Caucasian, not every person or any culture likes it or dislikes it, so everybody's different. So basically what we do though is we slice them, throw them in boiling water for it depends on how much bitterness you want to remove, anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 minutes. Then throw them into a stir fry, and you'll reduce the bitterness. Throw them into a soup. It also helps take the bitterness and spread it out throughout the whole soup. It makes a delicious taste. Think of a lot of people think they don't like bitter, but there's a lot of things people drink that are disgusting or awful tasting the first time you tried it. The first time you tried coffee or a dark chocolate as a kid, you probably thought, wow, dark chocolate is disgusting when you were 1 year old and tried it, unless you loved the bitter taste. The same with bitter melon. It has the most unique kind of combination of flavors. You have a little bit of the squash, asparagus taste, as well as a little bit of the bitter. And I have a white variety up on the wall, and the white varieties, in general, are a little less bitter. In Taiwan, they use them in everything from smoothies to desserts. We use them at home to make like a ice slushy. You put them in there with a little bit of lime and a little bit of sweetener, and it makes it most refreshing. You actually feel better. Our staff at home, when they take it, you actually noticeably feel better and revived after the bitter melon. And our neighbors in Missouri and many other places, people you wouldn't expect are like, hey, I'm taking this for my arthritis. We can't prescribe it, but it definitely, from research in Taiwan and China and Japan, not in the US, unfortunately, very much, but in Asia, it's showing a lot of benefits. It isn't a cure, but it definitely is an overall health booster for many different things like heart conditions, diabetes, just overall, it's a very healthy vegetable. And also, it isn't just the bitterness, it's high in vitamins. And if you look at the list, you can just Google it, and there's a whole list of nutrients. It's actually a highly nutrient good food. And it's not to mention it's probably the most beautiful vegetable we grow in the garden, especially the white one. And then it will turn bright orange when it's ripe. And the white one's almost impossible to find in the US, and actually it's really rare to find in Asia. I mean, I've been to markets all over Asia, and Taiwan's the only place where it's common, but it is grown in China and a little bit everywhere. Even in the US, here and there you'll find it, but it's really rare. You can get the seeds from Kitazawa. They're a good supplier, but you get the seeds from a lot of different seed sources.
Or Baker Creek. Oh, we have a few questions.
I think mine was actually still with the bitter melon.
Okay.
I'm growing it. I'm up north. I'm trying to grow it. I'm dry. I don't have the humidity. Well, I do have a little humidity, but not very much. And so my question was, what advice? They're in pots. They get watered, every other day. And they're in with the large gourds. I have them kind of mixed in, so maybe they don't like the canyon. I don't know. Full sun.
Yeah.
Advice.
I have like humidity level between 0 to 10 where I live.
Okay.
So I don't think humidity is an issue in my experience. I actually like to start because the stems are actually very delicate and easy to break in the base. So I like to plant them in like part shade and then let them climb to full sun. And then it seems like I'm growing a lot more like small space gardening now. So I noticed that trying to pack more gourds or kind of vine kind of squashes in a small space is harder for them to grow. So I think you really want to just be free and just hang and just move horizontally. So maybe find a spot, that you can dedicate to them. Slightly shade, part shade, full sun. Part shade is okay actually. Yeah, you get a few hours of afternoon sun. Great.
What about misting it?
Misting?
What about misting it?
Yeah, you can do that. That's just extra work on your end, but it's not required, but you can. I'm sure they enjoy it. They're from the tropics. Nutrients? Like Jared was mentioning about.
As far as nutrients for growing, right?
Yeah. I have them growing. I didn't know that they're so really wispy and thin. They're coming out like the white and the green.
Yeah, they have a wispy vine. They take a little bit to start and then they go like crazy. But the biggest thing is keeping them like, if it's cool outside, they will, for example, this spring in Missouri, we had a cold, wet spring where we're getting 20 inches of rain. And it was beautiful weather, Sonoma County type weather with rain. But it doesn't like the cool nights here in Sonoma County. So you can tolerate it, but you won't get the massive, like we grew bitter melons even in Central Valley and it has the cool nights, and the bitter melons out here are they're like this. We're used to bitter melons in Missouri, like 2 pounds, 3 pound bitter melons, like massive bitter melons. And out here it's like, we bring the little bitter melons over to the expo table and everything, even in Central Valley. So if you can grow them in, if you have access to a greenhouse, they grow crazy in a greenhouse. Like this spring when it was cool in Missouri, we had plants outside that were like 10 inches tall, and inside they were already producing. and they've been in the ground the same amount of time. So they have warm, but not saying you can't grow them anywhere. They grow anywhere a cucumber grows. But as far as nutrients, just think of cucumbers. Anywhere you grow cucumbers, they just love the warm nights to really take off stuff. So if you're coastal, they're not good for coastal cool unless you're especially in a greenhouse.
Could we take your question over here with the hat?
I was wondering if you have any advice for growing lychee. We live in a high desert area, so very hot during the days, and only in the winter do we get some light frost and things. But would you recommend growing it indoors, outdoors? Lychee fruit?
Where are you from?
I'm from Cottonwood. It's near Redding, California.
Oh, that's pretty north. I know.
But it's
Oh,
very hot.
Yeah, lychees, they definitely tolerate cold better than other tropical fruits, but that is quite that. But yeah, I think that's.
No.
Yeah, so anything below 45, I think that would be difficult. You can
Yeah.
always try and bring it inside and put the like the south-facing window or something, blast some heat. I don't know, just try that because I know, like I said, it's very hot there. But the winter would be that challenge. So you can do like a large container, push it in the house or something.
Yeah, normally for the winters we only have 32 degrees or maybe like 8.
Yeah, that's something I've never experienced. So.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I have a comment about the lychee. I don't recommend growing it up there at all. My dad and I actually grow it a lot in Southern California. We're in Orange County.
Yeah.
It does not like cold at all. And even where we are, the easiest to grow, I'm in zone 10A. The
Okay.
easiest to grow is longan, or longan, Ramadan. Lychee is a little harder to grow, even in my area. You definitely want it a little warmer. Anything lower than like 40 is really hard for the lychee. It's very tropical and very cold sensitive, and it doesn't like super dry seasons.
Thank you.
Yes, so, I'm sorry, I'm just going to repeat what she just said. So she said, you know, where she's at, she's recommending longan is a much more cold tolerant type of tropical fruit. Longan, where she's actually more south of where, yeah, the lady in the hat. Yes.
I have a question for Jere. What varieties of Asian long bean and asparagus pea would you recommend that are not day length sensitive? Is there such?
Where are you at?
We're in Belmont, California, which is Bay Area.
Okay, so she had a question on the day length of long beans. And we're actually in Missouri in about the same, zone or the same. We're not much difference as far as the day length as here. Most of them will do. We don't have any problem. Again, I think. Are you coastal?
Not quite, no.
Okay, not coastal. Yeah, in Missouri we don't have any problem with them. But I don't know if it would be day length as much as maybe the conditions where you're at. Probably cool nights. Can be cool nights. Again, they like a continuous warm. They love the southern, they love like Georgia temperatures. And so again, as long as you're having a warm summer, they should do great. But just like, and that's the one thing we found about Asian vegetables in general, not all Asian vegetables, not by far, but all the ones from like Southeast Asia, Southern China, a lot of China gets hot and humid, even if it's not tropical, it has a hot and humid summer. And even Japan has a very hot and humid summer. So in places like Central Valley, they might not be humid, but it's hot. And so any place, if you're in part of California where you have a hot summer, consistently warm temperatures, Asian vegetables in general, not all, because there are some from very far north, cold regions. But the best thing about them, we found they do way better than European vegetables in the U.S. If you look at the whole U.S., we're very similar to China. We have tropical, almost tropical areas in South Florida and the Keys, and then we have areas like Maine and Alaska. So similar to China, and so, but in our general, the vast majority of the U.S. has warm, hot summers, besides coastal California and a few other coastal areas. So Asian vegetables, if you're in the vast majority of the U.S., you need varieties that take a lot of heat, that can stand up to a lot of insect pressure. The varieties from China do far better than varieties from France or England, where they have more moderate more tolerable living conditions, kind of like the Bay Area where it might not be quite so hot, depending on where you're at near the Bay Area. So that's, on the long beans, it's, you might just try different varieties. They don't really have a good, probably just, you might check with like Kitazawa actually on that and get one from Kitazawa because they are here locally in the Bay Area. So again, that doesn't guarantee they will grow well because they all like lots of warmth and lots of sun.
Can I just add one more thing to that? In my experience, it seems like long-eared beans grow in less light than other beans that I've grown. Mine were in like against a wall in the shade side, and I have a lot of like vegetables that are kale kind of tall growing in front of it, and I was still getting a lot of that. So it's probably the weather more so than the light situation, I think. Go ahead.
Now I can't much speak on all of the many varieties that I would say you should choose from. Jere, who has probably tried hundreds of varieties of garlic, may be able to speak better on that. But on the time of harvest, was that another one of your questions? I think a lot of people have questions about that, and the different varieties of garlic curl at different times and curl different number of times. We grow Rocambole garlic, and we pick it after it curls one time. That's when we pick the scape. We also, if we let them go too long, we let them go to Bohlen's, and we'll harvest the Bohlen's to eat as well.
One thing that I wanted to add on that is just real quick. Is that on?
Okay. Anyway, I'll get a little closer. Anyway, in China they pull the scapes up when they're harvesting the scapes. If you snap them off, on some varieties you can't pull them out, but some you can pull. If you pull them up versus cutting, you can get twice as much scape.
Oh yeah.
So if you just take a knife and cut it off, you'll lose some of the scape. So you can get them, if you pull them up, you can get a lot more of the scape. If you're trying to get as much scape as you can double the amount.
And the scape part that you pull out is blanched and often a lot sweeter and more tender than the part that's exposed to the sun. Very good.
Hi. I don't know if I'm the only one interested in this, but if I'm not, perhaps I was wondering if you guys could spend a few minutes basically doing Asian Vegetables 101 and talk about what's unique about them, what the challenges are, how you market them, what you would recommend for somebody that's just starting out with Asian vegetables, and what they should grow.
Yeah, so if I were to pick one of my favorite leafy greens to grow and eat on a regular basis is the Jere also known as the longevity spinach. That one I highly recommend just because it's easy to grow. Even someone who, is first new to gardening would, it's a lot easier to grow, and it's very hardy, although of course it's like it doesn't tolerate the frost that well. You would have to like mulch a lot to do it, and the taste of it is very mild. So it's very easy to accept, especially for people who are new to eating more, I guess, healthier whole foods and vegetables. And you can do just so much with that plant, from putting in soups to stir fries. You can be creative with it if you think about them being like a spinach. Like, what would you do with spinach? Chop it up and stuff it in things, and in soups or stir fries and salads and smoothie, and put it in juice or something. It's really great that way, and it's water soluble, so when you blend it up, it just almost tastes like juice in your smoothie. It doesn't add that texture, like that thickness and fiber like you find in kale or something. And as far as growing, they're really, they're hardy. They would adapt to full sun, to full shade, part sun. It just changes, it intensifies the taste a little more if it's in more sun, and it gets more succulent, the leaves get thicker. But as far as, just growing it, it's one of the easier vegetables to grow, in my opinion.
I would say that what you asked us to do, in my opinion, is very, very difficult because Asia has some of the most diverse selections of vegetables and fruits. But I can say the reason that I fell in love with growing Asian vegetables is because they have such a wide selection of cultivars or heirlooms. We have been able to fill in gaps for having cole crops in the summer, whereas to a lot of the cole crops that are popular, cauliflower being one of them, does not tolerate the heat that we have in our Missouri summers. And so we started growing a Japanese cauliflower that has a much more open head structure. It's like a sprouting cauliflower is what they call it. It's also a lot sweeter. And so same with on the leafy green side of things, you'll find leafy greens that tolerate a bit colder temperatures than our average things, or hotter temperatures. Our favorite new summer green is Malabar spinach. It grows like gangbusters. You gotta stay on top of it like okra. You know, if you pick it too late, it's gone too far. We like harvesting it when the plant's still upright, and you can kind of bunch it. Once it starts spinning and the leaves get very small, it's not as ideal of a crop in my opinion. There's a lot of different names. The selection that we're growing is called Fioretta. It's bred by Tokita Seeds.
Got a question here on row 12.
I was going to just follow up on, as far as he mentioned the marketing of heirloom vegetables. It's such a broad topic, I'd be glad to talk to you later, or any of us after the thing, because there's literally hundreds of Asian vegetables really represent probably 60% of the planet's vegetables on this planet or more, simply because the population represents probably 60% of the world's population. And the oldest cultures that have been breeding vegetables, Japan and China, and people that have seriously been seed companies that are much older than companies here in the U.S. So we had a breeding program. So we could go on and on. So afterwards, we'd love to, and there's lots of great materials out there and people to meet at this event. But just to talk about the marketing and the popularity real quick. And he would be better actually talking about the marketing side if you want to ask later as well. But I'm going to talk just on for us personally, we started growing Asian vegetables many years ago when I was a small child, and I traveled to Thailand, and then we adopted 2 children from China recently and taken trips to various places. And I'm fascinated by Asian food and culture and history, especially in Thailand is my favorite place. But I mean, I love all of, especially warmer climates in Asia. And the thing that we found over the last, since we started the seed company 21 years ago, when we first started introducing heirloom vegetables like bitter melons, they were kind of a novelty. And now our sales for these things will double or triple oftentimes each year. This year, the top 10 new items in the catalog, out of all the new items, 200 items in the catalog, the top 10, I think 8 out of the 10 were from China or Japan. There was only 2 from Europe or America. So it's showing you kind of the trend people are excited about. All this newfound diversity, the pink celery, the white bitter gourd, the snake beans. People are excited to learn about totally new crops that aren't really new here to America, but they're not in the general public's view. So people are, all of a sudden learning about all this, and so I think it's a great time to start marketing these things. It shows our customers are general customers from across the board, so I think it's a great time to start marketing these to more than just an Asian grocery store. It's time to bring some of these things into the general markets. And David would be great to talk to afterwards about that, as well as a lot of other people here. So.
I wanted to ask about stir-fry and kind of braising greens. I love in Southeast Asia a lot of the stir-fried morning glory and stuff like that. But I'm in Colorado and I don't have like a large wetland to grow things in. I just wondered if you guys had advice on other good, interesting stir-fry greens.
I'm going to give this to Wendi. First off, the water spinach is not available in the U.S. because it's restricted because it's invasive in Florida. So you have to, if you're going to grow it, you have to get the seeds some other way besides the U.S. It's not illegal to grow as far as I know, it's just illegal to buy seeds or sell seeds. So it is available in Canada, but I can't tell you about the legality of bringing it in or not. But that's up. But anyway, I'm gonna get the Wendi on the rest of it.
Trying to think what comes to mind right now about that, but just to comment in general about, of course, if your grow's being invasive, if you do want to do that, you want to be responsible and, a grower and keep them contained. And with like morning glory or water spinach, it's also another name for it, they grow very well even in containers like what do you call those restaurant, like those plastic bucket things, like those those deep bus tops on your own. You grow them in there, that's fine. And what I've been doing is I started doing water chestnuts this year. And I was trying to figure out how to get rid of this mosquito larvae and stuff, and actually just put those really cheap goldfish in there, and they take care of themselves. And there was, so if the water doesn't really move in there, but you can still have it, not like in a pond setting. You don't have to have a pond setting to be able to grow these water aquatic kind of vegetables. Trying to think what comes in mind. Stir fries. Just a second. Sweet potato vines taste pretty similar to me, like to water spinach or morning glory, and that you can have the root to enjoy, at the end of the season and when it grows on land. So that would be like another option. Yes.
I can get the green one to grow in the farm, but the purple one, I cannot get it. It won't come up. I've tried it in cabinets, slides, I've tried outside. Is there a secret to it, or?
Yes, so her question is that she's having trouble with the purple variety shisha, which is also called perilla, and that one really takes heat well, and it like very full sun.
I grow purple shiso as a microgreen. Freeze your seeds overnight in a Ziploc. They germinate way better if they frozen overnight.
Okay, yay, thank you.
Thank you.
Got a question on row 14 here, Jere.
Hello. Can you guys expand on or elaborate on some of your favorite Asian vegetables to grow, and then specifically what challenges that you've had growing those, specifically, whether it be with insects or pests or the climate or even marketing those greens? It's a three-part question.
Alright, so I'd say my favorite, that's a difficult one. I mentioned one of my new favorites, which is that sprouting cauliflower that I spoke about. I think.
Can we get a picture of what you're talking about?
What about the
Celtics is another one that I love. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. Okay, so I'll tell you guys why I love this. And in this picture, this is like the perfect time to harvest it. In the summertime, the reason I love it is because the head breeds a lot more, so you have a lot less mold and mildew pressure and disease pressure. It also is a lot more pest resistant than the average white cauliflowers that we grow. The head doesn't need to be blanched, and it's a lot sweeter. And so under that head are a lot of long stems underneath there, and so that head will separate into a lot of small curves with long stems, almost like a broccoli. It's very, very good and beautiful on a plate. As far as celtuce, I'd say that's one that's gaining popularity, that still some people grow out but don't quite know what to do with it once they harvest it. We love it because there's different varieties that you can grow throughout the whole season, and we like to overplant it, so we'll almost seed it like a baby green and harvest, thin them out, and harvest what we thin out early as a baby leafy green, baby lettuce. And also we'll do our selections that way too. So the smallest, less vigorous plants will be eaten when they're very young, and we'll leave the stronger plants to mature to what you see here with the very thick stems. The inside has a kind of, well, the variety that, there's a couple varieties. The red ones tend to be a bit more on the bitter side. The more bitter they are, I found that the more nutty the flavor of the
does
inside.
more than catch air.
The more, it's alright. The red ones tend to be more nutty. The leaves are always very delicious, whether the plant is young or starting to bolt and get a lot taller. They are a bit more hardy than your average lettuce, and they hold up to a light wilting, and they also take on a very nutty, almost popcorn-like flavor if they're quickly wilted with butter or your favorite oil. There you go. And so we peel it. We peel the outside with a potato peeler or a knife, past the fibers until you reach the inside of the flesh, and it's very crisp. And in the cooler times of the year, it's pretty sweet and very delicious.
The one thing about that lettuce in particular, it's wonderful to grow in the fall. You grow it in spring or fall, but in the fall you get bigger. There's spring planted varieties, but they never get as big as the fall planted varieties. And growing it in the greenhouse or in the cool coastal climates, they'll get really big, really sweet. The summertime's not a good time to grow it. You grow it like any lettuce. It's a lettuce, so anytime you grow lettuce in the summer, you're not going to get the high quality unless you're on the coast. But it's amazing eating vegetable. It makes a great gluten-free pasta substitute as well. You just cut it and put a little sesame oil on it. And definitely one of the most delicious vegetables. And it was introduced in this country in a big way by Burpees with a 2-page ad in the front of their catalog in the 1940s, which I'm kind of playing a little video here from our website or our YouTube. But anyway, they introduced it in a big way, and they thought it was going to be a big vegetable. They kept it in the catalogs, and it kind of disappeared out of catalogs for the last 60, 70 years or so, and we're hoping to get people's, attention on it again, because it's one of those vegetables that's probably one of the top 10 things in our garden each year.
Yeah, it's definitely it's very delicious in stir fries and all that. And the first time I had it was probably like 7, 8 years ago at a farmer's market, and then last year I started seeing it at the Asian market, so they're coming around and becoming more popular and common. That vegetable. Yeah.
Children like it too. That's one of the few.
Oh yeah. It has a different and like in stir fries, like a coconut oil, it kind of brings out that nuttiness to it, that nutty fragrance. Yeah, go ahead.
We talked about some eggplant. It's rocking my world this year, but I'd really like to know what really easy ones that are prolific for growers that you would recommend. I'm up here in Northern California. I'm not ocean. I'm inland, Claytonville area.
Eggplants do really well in Missouri if you keep the flea beetles off them, so that's the main thing to watch out for eggplants. But Asian eggplants in general and Italian eggplants are really the best eggplants you can get.
I like the long slender.
The long slenders are by far getting more and more popular. But if Japan has some really nice kind of traditional shaped eggplants and long slenders. But the tastiest eggplants I think are from China, and they have pure white flesh. So if you look for an eggplant, if you like bitter, you don't want to. If you want a super sweet eggplant with pure white flesh, if you like more of a bitter Thai type eggplant, like for Thai curries, you want a little stronger green flesh varieties, which are better for curries or sharp tasting. But if you want that classic sweet, like orange sauce or sweet chili sauce, or if you just like sweet eggplants in general, the long skinny eggplants, we have like ping tongue and a lot of other long skinny eggplants as well as a lot of people around here. But the best one I found so far is the Chinese string eggplant. It's very long and skinny, and it's about the shape of your
big finger, well, depending on how big your biggest finger is, but it's about like a finger, and it's almost like that, not quite that long, but almost that long, about that long, and really long and slender. We're trying to find an open pollinated strain of that. The Chinese companies say it's all hybrid, but we know it's not all hybrid. So we're looking around because in China in particular, but a lot of countries, they say everything is hybrid. So a lot of times you have to just check to see if it's hybrid by simply growing it out. But that's by far the better than anything we currently have as far as the long slender eggplants go. It's better than the pink tongue and so forth. You just gotta make sure we have an open pollinated strain before we can offer it. But in general, pink tongue is probably the best open pollinated, in my opinion, for just a standard Chinese eggplant that's currently easily available from dozens of seed companies.
Yeah, I'm interested. I came late, so I might have missed the discussion on this. I'm interested in, I'm growing komatsuna. I wondered what your experience with it is and whether you like it and is it
Very delicious. It's definitely up there towards the top of my list of favorite Asian greens. I like it because if you plant it in the warm weather, it doesn't bolt too quickly. What I realized with a lot of the extreme weather tolerant Asian vegetables is if you plant them in the spring and they go into summer, they'll bolt very easily. But if they're planted in the summer and grow throughout the summer, they're less prone to bolting. We like the komatsuna because it's though it is a hardy, meatier leaf, it's still very, very tender and can be eaten raw or cooked, and it grows very quickly.
Is it a perennial? Does it grow like sorrel or it continues?
In California, no, it'll flower out and it'll grow back from seed.
The flowers are really delicious.
They are, they're sweet, and it's like a broccoli flower. Jere.
The jackfruit,
Oh,
the
sorry.
seeds that are out there, will they grow in, I'm in 9B, and what kind of care do I need to?
Jackfruit, you said jackfruit, not jackfruit, right?
It's GAC.
Yeah,
Probably
jackfruit.
butchering.
Okay, jackfruit will grow anywhere. We have about probably a 200 plus day growing season. So if you're in you said zone 9 or 10?
9B.
9B, is that a warm 9B or a coastal 9B?
Warm.
Warm, so you should be able to get it there. You should be pretty close. I started in the house early, so that gives you an extra 50 or 100 days. The seed is notoriously hard to germinate up. So take a lot of seed and work on it. You might only get one or two to germinate.
Do I need to soak them first or anything? Will that help?
Soaking, anything like that. You can also sand the seed down a little bit with like sandpaper to try to get the coat. You just don't want to cut all the way through, or you cut all the way through, you just can't cut the inner layer. So you just got to be careful. But it's one of those ones. I think there's male and female plants, so you want to grow several if you can.
Okay.
We've tried to grow in our greenhouse, but we've only had one plant, and it seems to need a pollinator plant. So it does, yeah. But it's one of those plants that actually isn't that delicious. It's more of health benefits, and it's used in smoothies and drinks and all that Wendy cooking.
In Asia, they use it to color rice and pastry that color orange, is what they extract it from. So it's a natural food coloring. Not so much in the taste, like you said, but it's definitely is red color. So it has all that kind of antioxidants, and it's just very nutritious for you. Yeah, and it's a really huge vine. Make sure you have the room for it.
Yeah, well, it would fill this whole.
Yeah, and you need two at least, right? To see which one, what genders they are. Yeah.
I have a friend who's developing some flowers for memory, and they're using the ahi flower. Ahi, have you heard of that? I think it's like a weed in England.
I'm not personally familiar with that.
Okay. It's for memory. Okay.
I was hoping you guys can touch on the ashitaba plant and hopefully how to best take care of it and how to spread it out. I've had a heck of a time getting the seeds germinating from different sources, freezing it for different amounts of time, doing all kinds of different things. I can never get it to sprout out. So.
Yeah, so ashitaba is one of the Japanese herbs, and it's very, again, another very medicinal herb that's very anti-cancerous and nutritious. And they do prefer more cooler weather, so we're kind of getting closer to that time of the year where you want to just like try the seeds. This is maybe in fall, or late fall. In Southern California, kind of start germinating them in late fall or early winter. And the important thing about sprouting them is you gotta make sure the seeds are still like very fresh. They definitely don't have a super high germination rate like a lot of the other vegetables, but you do have to get, seeds that still have a hint of green in it. Like it's gotta be really fresh. And I've seen them when they just kind of, you just sow in the ground, or some that falls off the plant, they would just sprout. Like I don't have to refrigerate them. So I think fresh seeds is the most important. And I grow mine more in part shade, or even the more shade you give it, the darker the green, the leaves get. Yeah.
I was wondering about growing ginger, and specifically in greenhouses, and whether or not you let them over winter or you harvest them at the end of the seasons.
Well, I guess if you're in a greenhouse, it would allow you to have that season extension. And what I've learned, since we're in Missouri, I've learned that you can not overwinter. You can push them into winter to allow the roots to swell a bit more, but they need to be mulched heavily mulched. And I wouldn't let them go through all the way through winter. And if you have space in the ground, I always would recommend in the ground, just because it will allow them more space to grow.
We got one, row 8.
Hi, sorry, I arrived late, so have you guys touched on moringa yet?
No, you just missed a big talk on moringa. Huge presentation on moringa.
Oh, there you go. How about that?
Any other questions?
What are the ideal growing conditions for wasabi?
It's a very difficult environment to recreate. I think the young, if you have a spring, he's saying if you have a spring and shade. The only people in the United States that I know that do it commercially are in Oregon.
There's a farm at Half Moon Bay that grows it. You might get in touch with them, but that's the only people around here that I've heard that growing it. I mean, people do it as a hobby. I mean, you can do it in your backyard, but as far as growing it commercially, I think it's a challenge. If you have some cool water in a shady area, you can do it anywhere coastal. But it's probably going to be a hobby unless you have everything set up just right. If you have a way to cool the water, I'm sure you could do it. But probably expensive.
It was wasabi that she was asking about.
And do you grow it from seeds, or do you have to get is it rhizome?
We have plants at the seed bank in Petaluma. Somebody grows them locally and brings them in there at the Petaluma Seed Bank. I don't know how easy it is to grow from seeds versus cuttings. It's one of those ones that we're in Missouri, so we don't even think about it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm sorry about the end there, you guys. It got cut off, but I promise you didn't miss too much of it. We were getting to the end of it anyway. So if you think someone you may be struggling with the plants that we did cover in the video, be sure to share this video with them and like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. I'd love to have you back here. We're gonna have lots more gardening and plants and nature kind of videos out your way soon. You can also stay up to date with me and my life, where I do more instant updates where you don't get on this channel through social media. And if you want to support me, I do have a website where I do offer some of the plant collections that I grow. So thank you all so much for your support, your views, and I'll leave all the links for you to check out just below this video. Happy autumn, and have a lovely day. Bye.